Attention! The National Weather Service has issued a hurricane warning for the entirety of the National Hockey League. Please stay tuned for further information from the Storm Cellar.
Welcome back to the Storm Cellar playoff edition, Ray. It's the best and worst time of the year because like regular season's over, so you know the end is near. But super excited to get rolling. The last 2 days have been really tough. I'm like, I just want to see them play hockey. Like, please.
Yeah.
What's going on? How is Canada?
Look, here in Calgary, we are on our, by my count, we are on our second spring. And anyone will tell you we've got at least 3 more winters coming, the last of which will be arriving in May. May long weekend in Calgary is notorious for snow still. We'll get a blast of snow or whatever. It'll be miserable. And then all of a sudden, spring will be here and we'll be on our way to summer, which lasts about a half an hour. But beside all of that, it's going great. I was very, very happy with what I saw for us, the Hurricanes, going into the playoffs. We've got lots of things to discuss.
Mm-hmm.
So let's jump right in.
Let's do that. So obviously, I jumped in just to get things kicked off last week. I thought it was phenomenal. Thanks to Kaylee and Alex for coming on.
Man,
really
what a
enjoyed
great
the
episode.
It
Yeah.
was fun to listen to our show purely as somebody listening in, right? I didn't know what was going to happen or where things were going and all, and I really enjoyed it. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
To them.
Thank you,
I
kind
liked
sir.
it.
They carried the show. I mean, let's be
Yeah,
perfectly
wonderful.
honest, right? They were outstanding, and it's what we love here in the Storm Cellar. Like, really, I think it's our, we're pretty good with our knowledge about the team and estimations and stuff like that. But really, the joy and the power of the Storm Cellar is when we have fellow Caniacs from all over in and shine the light on them. I think that's where our strength is for what we've done. It's what we've modeled the show after, and they never let us down. They never let us down. They give us great takes on so many things. And Kaylee's whole story about the flags and how she did the work and the ideas that she had and everything. And then from there, when we're talking about the final week of the playoffs and the few games that we had left, where are we going to be? They were all over it. Super hot takes. They were fantastic. Alex was great too.
I thought Alex's Jordan Staal as a tropical depression take was bold, and I don't disagree with him really. I mean, Jordan Staal is not known for his offensive capabilities.
Right.
But as captain of the team, when your team isn't putting up points and they aren't getting things done, I know that, maybe, he has leadership that he generally puts out there in other ways, but netting a few would have been a big deal, right? It would have made things a lot less interesting on the 13th. But
it took me back. It really shocked me because I don't know if the captain has essentially earned enough respect that he is now Teflon as far to criticism or not. You don't hear it on him, but he justified his selection perfectly. And it really made you think. And he put it out there that they needed more from him, and wouldn't you know it, in the very next game, that third line put back together in the next 2 games, as a matter of fact, produces. So, it's like,
how many times has it happened to us?
It's happened so many times. Yeah, it's like maybe the team is listening. Maybe someone is, because it's crazy. He put it out there, and it was great. It was great.
It was. So after the show, first comes up Ottawa, right? Team we should beat.
Yeah.
It's 2-0 Ottawa in no time flat. I texted you and I'm like, my mental health is more important to me than this game. I'm turning the game off. and even though Ray was kind enough to text me updates, he's like, oh, it's 2-1, it's 2-2. I'm like, yeah, no, they're gonna blow it. It's just a gut feeling. Sometimes you just know. You're just watching, you're like, yeah, no, this is just not gonna go our way. And yeah. So I got a good night's sleep and felt better in the morning and wasn't super mad about it. I was just like, hey, I had said last week on Twitter, I resolved myself that we weren't going to win the Metro. New Jersey was going to, probably tie us in points and win it. And as long, since I just made that decision last week, if it came true, I wouldn't be upset, right? Because that's my new expectation. Like, look,
right.
If they just can't do it, they can't do it. Fortunately, very happily. So instead of being disappointed that they, potentially didn't do it, I'm stoked because I wasn't expecting them to actually win it. They come out against a Detroit team who has been a thorn in their side for years.
Oh my gosh.
And just put them down 4-1. I mean, that was a beauty of a game there. And then they come out against the Kitties, and this is one of those games where you feel really good about it. And then, it's like 3 minutes left to go. Maurice pulls the goaltender, and then it's just like, back and forth. Gostisbehere gets the empty netter. And I posted, like, that's the one that seals it. That seals it. That's the game winner. It ended up being the game winner. It should not have been the game winner.
No.
It was, because Florida scored 4 in the third, as did Carolina. So, even though it was 6-4, I think people felt, it felt a lot closer to that, right? Burns and Kotkaniemi get you started. And then in the third period, you get goals from Barkov, Lomberg, Burns, Faust, Gostisbehere, Duclair, Verhaeghe, and Aho. Like, that's a heck of a stat line of just
8 goals in that period alone. I was like,
I mean, it was fun to watch, but I will say I wouldn't say I was sweating there at the end, but I was definitely.
Oh, I was.
I was definitely not super excited. I'm like, okay, if the timer could just click down a little faster, I would really appreciate it. So.
What was really frustrating about all of this, and we have talked about it before, and everyone hangs their hat on it, is the games in hand.
Yeah,
the game against Ottawa was the game in hand. All they had to do was win that one, and it would have been out of reach. It would have been out of reach, and it could have provided a little bit more rest down the stretch and stuff. It didn't turn out, and I was thinking to myself, I'm not sure how this is going to go. And in the first, I'd say 4 minutes of the Red Wing game, I felt relief again, because I was seeing our guys playing our game. Absolutely. The way we play it, and taking control of the game right from the start, whether it was through the puck control or the aggressive forecheck that we know and love, the signature of this team. I knew they were back. And then, so they win that one, and then they go out and do it again against the Panthers. There was that relief, and it's like, okay, it's not as bad as the feeling that we had going into it. The games that you should win, the one, and it's funny, I've said that a number of times, and I've heard a lot of people say, guys, in the NHL, there are no games that you should win. This is not like baseball or football or whatever, because all of these teams are great and they can turn it on every night and win. Ask Carolina what they think about Arizona or Anaheim or whatever, right? And they aren't wrong. Every game is up for grabs, but there is no doubt that when you have the more talented team who can control the game the way the Hurricanes can, it means there are games that you should win, especially against teams that are racing to the bottom for the Bodner pick. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It just and on the other side of that, there was the excuse thrown out there as well. There's teams out there that are playing for their lives, right? They have a little bit more to play for than Carolina. Really, we know Carolina's in. They've got more to play for, and then whatever. And my instant reaction was, guys, you don't think the division was top priority for us? It absolutely was. We were playing for our lives, and we did see it. The division was important for a lot of reasons, immediate, but for bragging rights too. Three-time Metro Division
feels good.
Champions straight. It's great. It's great.
100%. We looking around the league. Just a couple of thoughts that pop out. Pittsburgh and the Capitals not in the postseason for the first time in many years, and they're doing it together. That's huge. I mean, those were two of the longest streaks, and they're out.
16 years for the Pens.
Isn't that amazing? And 16 years of Crosby, is it not?
Yep.
So
absolutely
tells you what he and Malkin have done there.
Mm-hmm.
Philly cleared house the other day. They fired everybody.
Oh yeah, Pittsburgh. Everyone's gone. Hextall, Burke. I mean, they just wiped everyone out. And I mean, I think no matter what, even if they made the playoffs, that was happening no matter what.
Yeah, it was time. Anaheim. Congrats to the Anaheim Ducks for tanking and winning the Bedard sweepstakes in terms of the best chance at a pick. And going through the numbers, Ray, one of the numbers I always watch personally is goal differential.
Right.
This is one of those things I always am looking at and going, okay, let's look at this. Of the playoff teams, every playoff team in the East has a positive goal differential. Every team who missed the playoffs in the East has a negative one. And
seems like straight facts, right?
Right. It seems pretty close. In the West, every team who made the playoffs has a positive goal differential. And Calgary is the only team who missed it that has a positive. All the other ones were negative. And poor Anaheim's at a negative 129, which is the worst in the league, and they're the worst team. And that sounds, maybe in some ways that sounds really obvious, but if you think about it, it's not necessarily, right? You can beat up on a weak team and score 10 goals and be a +9 and lose your next 3 because they're all 1-goal games and still have like a plus, 6 or 7, right?
Yes.
But, the Bruins are just up there, I mean, they had a +128.
That's just,
right?
It's
and
amazing.
The next closest team was a +67, I think, which is basically half. So the Bruins just lighting people up. Like, tomorrow. 305 goals for the Bruins, only 177 allowed.
And that's the other thing. It's not just how many goals that they scored, which was plenty.
Mm-hmm.
That defense and their goaltending. Their goaltending's been outstanding, both of them.
But those were a couple of trends I noticed league-wide. In the West, let's just kind of jump in. So let's go through real quick. In the East, you have the Bruins, right? You're going to have Bruins, Florida in the first round. You're going to have Carolina versus wildcard 1, then Islanders. And then you're going to have Jersey, Rangers, and then Toronto, Tampa Bay. All going to be interesting series. I don't know anybody who's picked Florida as far as experts go, and I don't blame them. But I did put $2 on Florida to win because they're paying off at like +800 or 1,000. I forgot what it is. But if Florida were to win, my $2 becomes like $160. So,
yeah, pretty outstanding, right?
For $2, like for the price of a cup of coffee, that'll be worth watching those those games.
Yeah, you love the long shots.
In the West, Colorado comes out of nowhere. Not really nowhere, but Colorado comes back from a very poor start of the season to finish atop the Central, which I was very surprised about. So I kind of couldn't believe that a little bit, but you have Vegas as the number 1 seed out west going against Winnipeg, I think it is.
Yes, it sure is.
Colorado versus Seattle, the newcomer. That's going to be an interesting one to watch.
It is.
Then Dallas,
It
Minnesota,
is.
and then I think Edmonton, Los Angeles is a rematch from last year.
It is.
So do we just want to jump into predictions and just start talking playoffs? Because I wanted to talk about the regular season some, but maybe we should just wait until the season's over and then do a full wrap up, I think, of the Canes season.
Well, I mean, I don't what I will say just summarily I can make it really short.
Sure.
Is as for the regular season for the Carolina Hurricanes, great. Really, I mean, we've been critical about how they were doing, but where we're coming from, it's from a place of expectation, right? And
of acknowledging your capability, and when you're not playing up to your capability, that's fair.
Calling it out, fair criticism.
I don't feel like we're ever doom and gloomers. I don't think we're ever the kind of get on there like, oh, we're never going to win again, and this team is the worst team, and they shouldn't be. But to say we shouldn't lose to Ottawa when that game matters to win the Metro is true. We shouldn't lose to Ottawa.
Yeah, I think we offer fair criticism where it's necessary. You know what I mean? So. And it's certainly not from a place from out of love, because we're in the playoffs. That's really, in a sense, all that really mattered.
Yeah.
It didn't even matter if we didn't win the Metro or not. It was important, but it really didn't matter. The importance is staying in the playoffs. And I can feel that among a lot of fans that are happy that they're in, because we still have the memories of the dark ages.
Right. And to put it in context, I mean, we like you said, we've been critical, I think, when inappropriate. Anytime people talk about the doom and gloomers, I always worry it's us. And then I get snippets of like part of social media that are people like we don't follow, or we don't get their posts and things. And I'm like, oh no, it's definitely not us. There's some real people out there who just or Chicken Little, the sky is falling after every game. But for context, Pacioretty's supposed to be the goal scorer. He plays 3 games, 5 games, 3 games, something. I
think it was 5, but
I think it was 5, and he had 3 goals in 5. So there's that. Goal. You've had Anderson or Raanta hurt, it feels like almost the whole year.
All season, yeah.
Right? You lose Svechnikov.
Yeah.
You're the second best team in the whole league, behind Boston, who just dominated.
Yep.
And then it's New Jersey and Toronto before you even get to a Western Conference team. And then you have 4 in a row: Vegas, Edmonton, Colorado, Dallas, and then the Rangers and Los Angeles to round out the top 10. So even with all the stuff they went through, they're the second best team in the league. How is that not a win? Like, if anybody out there feels like this season could have been more up to this point, I don't know how.
No.
You could win the President's Trophy, which I do not care about in the least.
No.
But I would have liked to have taken the season series from the Bruins and won 2 of the 3. And we ended up losing 2 of the 3, but the last one was
points in every game.
Points in every game. They couldn't beat us in regulation. That's a victory. Like,
it is.
They thoroughly dominated other people, and they did not do that to the Canes. That's exciting.
It is.
Looking at points, I looked up April, just because I mentioned, I think last week or the week before, if you're playing halfway hockey to finish out the season, then you enter the playoffs playing halfway hockey. You're not saving up guys' energy. You just start to play at a level that's mediocre.
Yeah.
Since April 1st, Jesperi Kotkaniemi is your number 1 points guy. 7 points. He's almost 0.9. He's at 0.88, I think, points per game. The kid's on fire. He's starting to come into his own.
He is.
I think he's going to get better the next couple of years, because he is still a baby. Seth Jarvis is taking a lot of heat.
He's 22.
Yeah.
He's 22, and he's doing all of the things that you need him to do. He is going to the front of the net. He's a scorer guy, right? He's flashy, great shot, but he's got toughness. He's got grit, and he goes to where you need to score.
Throw the body.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, Svetch isn't here. Somebody needs to put a body on this guy, and he's doing it. Like,
Oh, that's great. It's great. You love seeing it.
I feel like we went from KK is the second line center of the future when Trocheck leaves
Mhm.
to, okay, maybe he's not that, but he could still be a Jordan Staal third line defensive center replacement.
Yep.
And now we're starting to go, okay, maybe he is that, but maybe at a second line level, because he's starting to find his game. Like, okay, but he's still playing really well defensively. That's the really cool part, right?
I'm loving
So
200-foot game.
KK all day is the way I put it when he scores. The kid is really growing into that contract, and I think, you know, over the next 6-7 years, we're going to see him really start to take off. So
Absolutely.
Seth Jarvis has been cold, but has 1 goal and 5 assists in April, right? 0.75 points per game, along with Brett Burns, who has 4 and 2 for 6 points. So those guys on fire. Brady Shea,
Oh
0.63
man.
goals a game. Stefan Nosen's picked it up. Then you dip down to Aho, who's got half a point a game and needs to find, you know, we can't have an Aho, you know, there will be 2 Ahos in the opening round, and ours needs to be the better one
100%.
by a margin, right? Not by, you know, obviously the positions are different, but
Definitively, yeah.
you know, Drury, Natchez, Martinook, Gossespierre, those guys, I expect to see better production out of them because it falls off below Aho from 0.5. It falls off pretty quickly down into
Yeah.
down into like the 0.25 points per game. But the younger guys are stepping up. So if the younger guys kind of give that, you know, if they're able to kind of push on those older guys, those veterans, kind of make them work a little bit for it, it should be, I mean, I think, should we start with our series or should we start elsewhere?
We'll finish up with our series. Let's start
Okay,
in the
let's do it.
West.
Okay.
Let's start in the West, and we'll work our way back to us here.
I like that.
Let's go.
You live in the West. I'll let you pick. Yeah, where we're going.
Sure. Let's start with the rematch and the Oilers and the LA Kings. This is an intriguing one. The Oilers, after the trade deadline, what is it? OKL, their defensive pickup from Nashville.
Oh yeah.
Wow. The Oilers are playing great hockey. The hottest team in the league coming in as far as points. They are playing outstanding. Their power play is lights out, like 33%, I think is what they're
Wow.
scoring at, 33 or 36. It might be even that high.
Yeah.
It's like if you take 2 penalties, only 2 penalties, there's a good chance they're scoring at least 1 goal. It's that kind of reliability, and they're getting production up and down the lineup now too. They are getting everything that you know is important for playoffs, which is the secondary scoring, the special teams, which is amazing, and their goaltender, Stuart Skinner. Wow. He's really stepped it up and worthy. I would not be against him getting Rookie of the Year.
Wow.
I would not be against that. That he has played that well, and I think it's more accentuated because with the Oilers, that was always the problem.
Right.
Is they were not getting the goaltending that they needed, and now he is playing fantastic. The Kings have been great too. They've got lots of scoring, and look, it's an intense bright light on the Oilers right now. It's time. And
Right.
There's a lot. You want to talk about expectations. You think we have expectations on our boys? It's not. I mean, it's really next level. And because they got to the West final last season, they think they're ready for the next step. And it's hard to argue when they're getting the production that they do. And they have Connor McDavid. So
And Leon Draisaitl, right?
And Leon. Yeah, let's not forget him.
Leon plays in McDavid's shadow, but
big shadow, but he's pretty talented too, to say the least.
Yeah.
That's the understatement of the millennia. I like the Oilers winning this one against the Kings, but it's not going to be as easy as maybe some think.
right.
I
like
I
that.
I put the Oilers winning this one in 7.
All right, I'm
They'll
going
need
to
'em
write this
all.
down. Oilers in 7 for Ray.
You betcha.
All right. Uh,
I don't know
okay,
where
so
you're at though. Like,
so I'm with you 100%. Right, you have two of the most prolific scorers in the world of hockey with McDavid and Draisaitl.
yep.
You then have guys like Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Zach Hyman,
Oh,
who are providing secondary scoring that used to not be there. You have Skinner, who actually can play in goal.
yep.
On the other side, you have the Kings, who, they have, Fiala, for example. They have
Kempe
Kempe, they have Corpus Salo, I think.
yeah.
And so the big thing here, I think, is I agree with you. I think it's going to be 7 games. Anytime you go to 7 games, I think it's a coin flip, right?
It is.
To me, you can't say, oh, it's like, just to use your example, you can't definitely say it's Oilers in 7. Because if it gets to 7, they're obviously much closer than anybody wants to admit.
Yep.
I think it's going to be the Oilers in 7 by a nose as well. Just because, I don't know, I feel like LA is going to bring the heat and really want a little vengeance for last year. But I think the Oilers are going to be motivated enough to push through that.
Mm-hmm.
And so
I tell you what,
but if the Kings were to win, I would not be surprised at all.
yeah, and what I would say is, I think Skinner for the Oilers is the difference. Is the reason why I'm picking the Oilers. If they are with Soupy back there, Mr. Campbell,
Different animal.
different altogether. Just not, has not been providing the goaltending necessary to get where they need to go.
Conversely, if LA had Jonathan Quick in net,
if they had Quick in net,
I would say the Kings.
It's weird because Quick had such a difficult year, and now
until he got traded.
Until he got traded, exactly. And now, because he got traded and ended up, we're both looking for, we would love to have a Knights Kings, right? That's what everyone wanted, just for that story alone, for Quick to play against his old team in the playoffs, and we'll see what happens there. But yeah, right now, Edmonton is, if you couldn't ask for a team to be coming into the playoffs any hotter.
Right.
And if they can keep that trend going, they're going to go a long way. How about Colorado and the Kraken? We'll release the Kraken into the playoffs. Congratulations to them. 2 seasons in and in the playoffs. That's great. And really, arguably a pretty darn good season. Like, they have a lot to feel good about. Even if they were to get swept, this season has been fantastic for the Kraken. There's no question. The effort that they've been putting in, it is a total team lift, right? Like, they're getting up, and their success reminds me, oddly enough, of the Hurricanes. Not necessarily exactly the way we play, but it's a full team lift. You know what I mean? There's no reliance on one more so than the other. Everyone's pulling on the rope in the same direction. That's what you want. It's what you love about this team. It's not going to be enough against the Avalanche. They're getting a little bit healthier. No, they don't have Landeskog, which is unfortunate for Colorado. It's the Avs in 6.
In 6?
And the reason why I'm saying 6 is because I'm giving the Kraken the respect I think that they deserve. I have a feeling that it's only going to take 5, but I'm giving 6 out of respect
That's fair.
because just how just the way I feel about the team, and maybe that's my love of Ron Francis, leaking in there or whatever too. But yeah, I'm giving it to the Avs in 6. It's going to be an entertaining series, to be sure.
Yeah, to me, it all comes down to high-powered offense in Colorado, and Seattle's, I think, much greater depth because of Colorado's injuries.
Mhm.
So if Colorado stays healthy, I don't see how they end up losing to Seattle. But I think Seattle will give them a series. This might be a little overwhelming. Obviously, it's not. The team is new. The players are not necessarily new. There's plenty of veterans on that squad, but the Avalanche are just starting to find their rhythm after a bad start, right? And I just
Mhm.
don't see them losing. I think the Avalanche are going to take this one and probably. I'm going to say 6 games because I think Seattle's gonna pop a couple there that nobody quite expects. Like they're gonna maybe win one of those handedly, and then maybe get a
Mhm.
squeaker. But ultimately, I can't see the Kraken falling, or I'm sorry, I can't see the Kraken overcoming the Avalanche. That's an uphill battle, so to speak.
Well played. I saw what you did there. That was nicely done. Moving on. This one might be a really, really tough one. It's the Dallas Stars against the Minnesota North Stars. Or sorry, it's the Minnesota North Stars in Dallas playing the Minnesota Wild. This is going to be a great series.
This is one
Really
I'm
looking
looking forward
forward
to.
to. Yeah, 100%. And for me, uh, I'm focusing mostly on the goaltending. I love Ottinger for Dallas, and who doesn't like Fleury, like the Flower? And in Minnesota, they've got 2 goaltenders, right? 2 great ones again. And Minnesota, I don't know what they were doing in that one game earlier this week. Like they were behaving like knuckleheads, to say the least. I don't know what happened in that game. But yeah, it wasn't great. It's going to be entertaining. The little subtext, you know, the team who was in Minnesota taking on the team that is in Minnesota. That's kind of a neat kind of feel, a subtext story there. But I like Dallas in this one, and I like it in 7. And Ottinger will be
Ooh, another 7.
Ottinger will be the different. Yeah, there's going to be some long series in this one, to be sure.
So Dallas is as close to an adopted second team as I have. I'm a Canes only guy, but I think it's the Finnish connection. I really like the
Oh
Stars. I
yeah,
really like the way they play, and I don't think it's going to be as close as you do. So you start with the Otter, who he's helped put Dallas on an 8-2, I think, run to finish the season. They have the
amazing.
NHL's third best defense. They're only giving up 2.5 goals a game or so, but they have the 6th best offense, and they're scoring 3.5 goals a game. Right? You've
Yeah.
got the Tyler Sagans. I don't like Jamie Benn necessarily, but you got him right. They have Robo, they have Roop, they have
Oh, Robert
Heiskanen.
Heiskanen is great at providing them a lot of offense from the
Mhm.
back, which is total reason I can see why you're digging on them. That's what we're doing. You know what I
Yep.
mean? So yeah.
And for the Wild, for me, it's more about their goaltending in terms of keeping them in and giving them chances to win.
Hmm.
But I feel like there's not as much overall skill with the Wild as there is with the Stars. And I think the Stars are just clicking in a way that reminds me of Carolina, like where things are just working and they're just able to find each other. It's fun to watch them, right? They play a style that's interesting. Um, I think ultimately, I think the Wild are going to take this. I'm going to say 6 because it's the playoffs, but in my heart, uh, did I say Wild?
Um,
I just blanked.
I think
The Stars. I hope I said Stars.
Stars.
I totally just had a brain fart. I think the Stars are going to take this in 6 only because you know anybody can win a game or two, but in my heart, I really think that Dallas might just put them away in 5. So
There you go.
I'm going to say 6 to just pad it a little bit. So, if something
Yeah.
happens, I don't look foolish. But
No. That understandable. The final series in the West for this first round is the Golden Knights versus the Winnipeg Jets. And I tell you, this one was really difficult for me to pick.
oh,
And it goes to Hellebuck. As a
gotcha.
goaltender, he is amazing. Like he can and has won series in the past. You know what I mean? And like
Mhm.
on his own.
Yep.
Provided that just where he just takes over the series and wins, where he just becomes that brick wall. And the Jets, you know, when push came to shove, it was tough. There was a lot of time where it was difficult to see them making it in, you know. But when push came to shove, they were enough. They got it done. Vegas has new goaltending. They're playing really quite well coming in to the playoffs. This one's, I'm going with the Knights, but yeah, I'm going with the Knights, and I'm going to say 6 games.
In 6 games. So again, to me, this you're right. If the Jets have a chance, it's because Hellebuck is just playing extraordinary,
Out of his mind.
But the guy I just mentioned, like Jonathan Quick, is now in Vegas and was having a floundering year and seems to have taken it very personally that he was traded to Columbus.
Yeah, no question.
He didn't even get on a flight to Columbus before he got traded. He was like, "I'm not going. Trade me somewhere else," and it was done. I don't know if that really happened, but that's how I like to picture it.
For sure, yeah.
The scene from Slapshot, and the goalie's on the phone. And he's like, "Trade me, red flipping now." Like that's how I like to picture Quick in my head.
Yeah, yeah.
Vegas has found an extra gear that they seem, in the past they've been kind of snake bitten, injuries and things, right? Stone and Pacioretty and these guys. And not only has Quick had a resurgence out west, but Eichel has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
I think Vegas takes this in 5 games. If it's more than 5 games, then Hellebuck is the team MVP because I don't see how they can keep up.
Yeah.
He is the only thing, if I were to do a pros and cons list, he would be the only place that I might put in the Jets' favor. Sorry, Jets.
Yeah.
Hey, prove me wrong. It's playoffs, right? Prove me wrong. But
yeah,
I think this is going to be one of the few series that I think is just going to be short. I think Vegas is going to come out and just put him away.
Yeah, you're when you're talking about Eichel, it was like he's like kind of the marquee guy.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at the players that they also have in Marchessault, Barbashev, Kessel, I mean, they're all making contributions, right? So, but Jonathan Quick, I mean, I'm kind of cheering for him. You know what I mean?
Too.
Just
I'm cheering
because
for Eichel.
Eichel.
Honestly,
too. Buffalo
I'm a Kevin
fans
Adams
won't
guy,
agree with you,
but Kevin Adams, I know you're probably a big fan of our show. You just got to give the dude a surgery. Like, was it unproven? Yes. Has it obviously been the right call? Yes. Could you imagine if Buffalo had Eichel today, where they'd be? Because they wouldn't be a wild card team. They'd be in the playoffs.
They'd be
firmly in the Atlantic. I mean,
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Eichel, I don't think handled that situation overly well. I don't think Buffalo did either. So I think there's a lot of blame to pass around. I'm kind of
100%
rooting
there
for
is.
him. I honestly, when he scored that first goal back in Buffalo and he kind of gave the crowd the business, I laughed.
Oh yeah.
I
Yep.
felt
It
so.
was
So I would love to, I would love to see those guys have a good run here.
cool. Let's move on. We'll go to the East, and we'll start with Boston and the Panthers. Credit the Panthers for finding their way in the end. And the one thing that they had said was they were building their team for the playoffs. And my joke was, you guys were counting your chickens before they were hatched. You got to get to the playoffs to have the team that's made for the playoffs.
Yeah.
And what do they get for as a result? Because they struggled so hard, they get the joy of taking on a team that has broken records, that is playing just amazing, and will give Boston their full credit. I mean, this was an outstanding
Nobody
season.
saw this coming. If
No
anybody
one saw
said
it.
at the beginning of the year that Bruins were going to be President's Trophy winning, record-setting champions, you
Lies.
are a liar.
Lies. All
Lies.
lies. Oh my gosh. It was just, you expected them to have so much trouble at start of season with all of those injuries, right?
And their age, they're just in general, just their age. And I mean, oh my goodness, Swayman and Olmark are just, I mean, my goodness, those guys have been, and they're fun to watch. As much as I dislike the Bruins living up here,
Yeah.
Bergie is just a class guy, and
He
Swayman
is.
and Olmark are just, their goalie hugs and stuff. I mean,
Are amazing.
They're just adorable.
They are. They are absolutely.
They're the antithesis to the Brad Marchands of the world. It's like, oh, I like those guys.
I'm willing to give the Panthers one game. And the reason why I say that, Alex Lyon.
Right? Isn't
That
amazing?
kid has been unconscious coming in. So much so that I think he's taken the starting position in game one away from Bobrovsky, who certainly
I would.
you would have written him in, before Lyon started playing like this coming into you ride the hot hand. If Lyon doesn't come in and do all of that, then you start Bobrovsky. Like, that's what your expectation was.
Right.
But Lyon has just been lights out, and I think he can steal a game, but he'll only steal one game. You know what I mean? And look, Tkachuk is it'll be fun seeing Tkachuk on the ice with Marchand. Two agitators who love to agitate, who can both score.
I think this will get ugly.
It could be fugly.
If Bruins go up, 3-0 or something in the series, like, I expect Florida to be like, oh, that's fine. We're just gonna hammer y'all.
Yeah. But it's Boston in 5. There's really, I don't know how much more there is to say.
I definitely saw a quote from, I think it was from The Athletic, and they said if there was an option for Boston in 3, I would pick that. And I can't disagree with them. But what I want to happen is for Florida win in 7.
A long difficult series. Oh,
a lot of bodies hitting the ground. The heartbreak of losing the game 7. Like, that's what I want. That's my schadenfreude, right? That's what I want to happen. If Florida wins a game, they should feel really good about themselves, because honestly, I didn't think they were going to make the playoffs.
No,
Thank you, Alex Lyon. They're in the playoffs. You drew the Bruins. The big thing for me is they won the President's Trophy last year. Am I imagining that?
You're not.
And they made the trade to send to get Tkachuk and to send out Huberdeau and
Weegar.
And then they just sucked. And they got rid of their coach.
Yeah.
Right, which was some of that was off ice issues. And I've said it a million times, I love Paul Maurice, but they bring Paul Maurice in to coach what last year was a high-powered offense.
It just doesn't
Paul
match.
Maurice is not a high-powered offensive-minded coach. And so this is not to bag on Paul Maurice, but I was just like, this doesn't look like this would work. You know, if you bring me into your university to teach history, gravy. If you bring me in to teach theoretical physics, then I'm not going to do well. It's not because I'm not a good at teaching. It's because I that's, give me the tools, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So I kind of want to say Boston in 4 because I just don't see how the Kitties pull it off. But because of Alex Lyon and because of what he did in Chicago, and I said if they were to win, I will buy an Alex Lyon jersey. I will spend the cash. I will buy a Lion jersey. I will wear it around here every single day until I get beaten up, which might not take long.
You might, yeah,
So
because you'll be walking out in the middle of a riot is what you'll be walking out into. Yeah. Like I would say, keep yourself safely hidden for a little while until the riot dies down or whatever, and then you go.
Like I wouldn't ride the T or something in it, but I'm not that insane. But,
you don't have a death wish, right?
You said Boston in 4, did you? Or
no. I said 5. I'm giving.
I agree with you.
I think. Look, I just
Bruins
think the Panthers can win one, and they'll do it on Lions back. Yeah. Let's and
like triple overtime too. Just to be clear, like they're not going to just like come out and smoke the Bruins. They're going to come out and it's going to be like a 3-3 game in like double overtime, and then there's going to be a weird turnover at center ice, and the Panthers are going to put it in, and that is going to be their victory.
Do you know what? This is going to sound bad. Okay, yeah. And I apologize to all my Caniacs and stuff like that. But you know what this series feels like? It feels like 2002.
I was going to say 2002 final. Detroit, Carolina, like
Detroit, Carolina, where that's exactly, they got hot at the right time. Mm-hmm. They had the scores, they had, you know what I mean? And that one game, and maybe the series changes on that extra long triple overtime game. If the result changes in that one, there could have been more, but that's the same kind of situation. Just
I think that could happen this way
odds.
Too. I think the Panthers could come out because the Bruins are going to come out. They're taking it easy, right? Like we got this tied up. They're going to come out, not that they won't take the Panthers seriously, but they're not going to give 110% the first night. And the Panthers might steal that first game.
Yep.
And then the Bruins are going to go, oh, okay, let's play hockey. And then it's going to be over in 5.
Time to get into it. There you go. It has that vibe for me. And I don't know. Anyway, moving along. This one is going to be interesting in my household.
Lightning Maple Leafs.
Again. How many times are these guys going to face each other? And there's been a lot of complaint about the playoff system that the NHL has. Mm-hmm. Really, it should be 1 versus 8. It should be whatever and stuff like that. Oddly enough, the 1 versus 8 method over this one changes very little of what would have happened in the East, because the only switch, if it was 1 versus 8 style, was New Jersey would be playing the Lightning, and it would be Toronto and the Rangers.
Which is honestly worse for the Maple Leafs, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think the Maple Leafs got lucky getting the Lightning. But
exactly.
It's the Lightning in the playoffs.
And here we go, right? Like it's revenge. Everyone said, is Toronto going to get out of this one? They should. But I'll tell you this. They had best win those first 2 games. Not just 1. They had better win the first 2. Because I'll tell you what, it's the pressure that they have been on. I'm telling you, 1967, right? Everyone thinks about that, but it's more than that. They have not gotten out of the first round in forever. Forever. They can't get out of the first round. They need to assert their dominance. They have a great team. The question comes in net for them.
Right.
The difference here is these two teams, I see it like I would give the skaters aspect a slight edge to Toronto, but there is a huge margin of difference, in my opinion. Even though their goaltending has been solid, they got over 100 points. Vasilevsky, who had really a meh year, right? He wasn't outstanding.
Nope.
No one's talking about him being a Vezina Trophy candidate or anything.
He's
far
only
from it.
great instead of practically perfect.
Yeah, exactly. But when the playoffs start, it's like, okay, now I'm playing. And Vasilevsky is, I think he's the difference. And you know what? My wife is going to murder me. I'm hoping that she's not going to listen to this episode. I'm hoping that she can't hear me now. But I've got the Lightning in 7 for the exact reason.
It's funny you say that, because I'm going to keep my thoughts kind of general on the series. One, if the Leafs, I'm going to call this for the Leafs with some caveats.
Okay.
So first of all, one of my favorite Twitter accounts that I follow is like Leafs Last Cup or something like that. And every day they tell you how many days it's been.
Oh,
it's been
my
6,935 days since the Leafs have won a playoff series. And only 1,148 days since they lost to David Ayers. So 6,935 days in the bag. They have not won a playoff series. I think they can do this with, I think it's 2 caveats. It might be 3. I'm bad at math. Number one, if the Leafs fall behind at any point in the series, I think they lose. Yeah. I agree with you. They absolutely must win game 1. They really should win game 2.
Mm-hmm.
And if they go down, if they lose the first game, I think that's it.
Yeah.
If it goes to a game 7, Toronto will 100% lose.
Yeah.
So if they win 4 in a row. If they win 3 in a row and then lose 3, they are 110,000,000,000% losing game 7. So with those 2 caveats, if they can avoid that, if they can just stay ahead of the Lightning, not go to game 7, I think the Leafs will win this in 6 by the thinnest of margins, but they're going to do it. I think this is finally their time to, I think as good as Vasilevsky is, I think the Lightning is, and it's the Lightning. Like, you can't count them out.
No.
Right? So it's going to be close, but I think the Leafs can do this in 6, although it's going to be as close as a 7-game series can be without going there, because if it goes to 7 games, mentally, the Leafs will do all the things that come with gripping your stick too tight and thinking too much and all those things, and they will fold.
You know what? And I think a lot of people who have selected the Leafs pick them in 6 for your exact reason, because if it does get to a 7th, I think a lot of people believe the same thing that you do, which is it's just a guarantee they're going to lose that one. The pressure is too much, too hard. What I like, man, oh man, it's going to be.
And some of that, in fairness, some of that's Tampa Bay. If it's 7 and I'm the Lightning, I know I'm going to win that game. I know the Leafs are going to fold. I'm going to come out swinging, whether or not, regardless of what the Leafs really do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to know that they're going to fold, and I'm going to come out, guns blazing. And I know a few Leaf fans that are actually decent people, and they're not the weirdo Leaf fans that are like the social media Leaf fans. And I'd like to see them win for them. And so I think maybe this is the year they finally put enough together to win a series.
And I'll go just a tiny step further here too, just to say that There is no team in the league going into this playoff season that has accrued more house money than the Lightning. If they were to get swept, no one criticizes them because they've been to 3 straight Stanley Cup finals. They have played more hockey than any other team. They've played more hockey. And so they are an older squad, not as young. And that type of, on the plus side, they've got experience. They've been through every type of game in every kind of war, playoff war, right? That's standard. That's a good thing, but it also wears on them for that exact same reason, because they've been through long, hard, difficult battles.
Right. Yeah,
And so
you're right. There's zero pressure on the Lightning.
Yeah, total
if they
house
lose,
money for
people will
them.
be upset, but they won't be that upset because they'll go, man, into 3 straight.
Well, what do you expect? Like, we can't be there all the time, guys. Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
I'm with you.
How about the two teams that have been nipping on the Hurricanes' heels for the majority of the season, one of which who was actually ahead of us for a little while and started out great. It's the Devils versus the Rangers for the first time since 94, if I recall correctly.
That's a long time.
It is a long time. And this is going to be a really wow series.
Just hope they just tear each other apart.
Yeah, they would. You know what? And this one, I think some might argue that the other team that has a lot of house money is New Jersey. Because they were so young, no one expected them to be as strong as they are. And this is their first foray into the playoffs for a while. Where are they going to end up? And I just think I would love to see New Jersey come through, because that's entertaining hockey.
Yeah.
For my following prediction that's coming. But the Rangers are essentially, when you look at their forward lineup, is an all-star team. They have arguably the deepest, strongest forward lines in the league, with tons of experience. They have great players throughout. They added Tarasenko and Kane, who are starting to find their way to produce. Oh, and they also have Shesterkin. I mean, they also have Shesterkin.
Who can be amazing.
And he had not played the greatest all season long either, until the end. And he's another one that has turned it up a notch and is really playing quite well.
Yep.
I want to say New Jersey in 7. I'm saying the Rangers in 7, but I'm cheering against them.
So I'm with you. I think this is going 7 games, and I think you kind of covered a lot of it, right? You have inexperience and youth and legs and optimism versus an all-star team who likes to play dirty.
Yes,
so
Mr.
if I'm the Devils, you need to dictate play to win the series. They play very Hurricanes-esque up-tempo hockey on the transition. Speed is their biggest weapon.
Yep.
If they can't utilize that, if they allow the Rangers to slow them down, they're going to lose. It's going to be a slog.
Yeah.
Their inexperience is one of the reasons that I think a lot of experts will vote against them, even though I think they're actually favored to win, in Vegas at least. And I would like to see the Devils youth be that kind of like Seth Jarvis youth of last year, where
Yeah.
like he doesn't know he's in danger.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
he's flying around the ice hitting people and he doesn't realize like that he's got a target on his head.
Yep.
Because if they play that way, they can beat the Rags.
Yeah.
I think ultimately I'm with you. This is going to be, I think, a 7-game series because I think this is going to go back and forth a lot. I think the Rangers are going to win in 7. I think New Jersey is where Carolina was a few years ago, or where the Lightning was at the start when they had the skill, but not quite the toughness and the identity to get through. And then they won cups, right? So I think that's where New Jersey is. But this is going to all depend for me on the tempo of the game. If New Jersey sets the pace, New Jersey can win. If New York sets the pace, New York's going to win. But I think ultimately it's going to be experience and guys like the Tarasencos of the world who have been there, done that.
Yeah.
Are going to end up controlling the tempo of the series, therefore giving the Rags the win in 7 games.
There it is. There's only one left, and the most important series.
The battle
in our
of
eyes.
the Ahos.
Yes, and Aho is going to be successful. Fishy, who I'm sure that's probably the other Aho's nickname as well. So I'm not
Maybe.
sure.
That's a
I
good
mean, it
question.
could be. It's who's to say? Look, Carolina, despite the woes, despite the difficulty in goaltending, and I say difficulty in so much as the injuries and less than year than what we saw last year from Mr. Anderson. This one, to me, the Islanders scared me. In fact, I didn't really want, of all of the teams that we could have faced who were vying for it, they were last on my list. Last on my list, mostly because of Sorokin. Sorokin has done it to the Canes in the past
repeatedly.
And and there's something about him. He's an outstanding goaltender. Outstanding. And we are struggling to get primary scoring. The secondary scoring is there. Oddly enough, our secondary scoring seems to be our primary. It's like a weird reverse world type thing that we're living in. And I have questions, but I'm going to save the questions for after my prediction. I see the Canes win this in 6 because Sorokin steals 2 games.
I like it.
There's no other reason why the Canes couldn't be an easy prediction on this. Now, we can also point out that all around the world, people are liking to pick the Islanders as the upset special, mostly because of because of no Pacioretty, no Svechnikov, goaltending concern.
The valid, right?
All reasonable. But look, take a step back, look at the two teams, look at what they have, look at their performances so far. The Canes are the better team and will win this series in 6.
I agree. The Islanders, Barzal will be back. They got Bo Horvat. So they have some firepower, right?
They do.
They have guys who can score. The Hurricanes goaltending is up in the air. Rod's on record as saying out, we don't have a plan yet. We're thinking it out. I like to think that that's just coach talk I'm not going to tell you so that you can't prepare for it. Because if anybody starts game 1 other than Raanta, before I watch the game, I will, go outside and punch something or just get my frustration out immediately. No offense to Anderson. Raanta has been the better goaltender.
He has.
He just has. And Anderson is the kind of guy who could win you a Stanley Cup. But for every 10 bell save, not even for everyone. For every 3 10-ball save he makes in a game, he gives up some weird 5-hole softie, and I'm just frustrated about it. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying the guy's not a good goaltender. He is, and he's making some stops that he shouldn't make.
Yeah.
But you also have to make the ones that you should make, Freddie. My goodness. maybe Freddie's got a new mask for this series.
Oh yeah.
Maybe the new mask will help. Maybe vision. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, in my mind, you need to have Ronton there. So the keys to this matchup are, one is Sorokin. If he plays lights out, it's going to be a long series.
It is.
However, the Canes have worse problems with lesser known goalies. At least with guys like Sorokin, like they tend to eventually figure them out and beat them.
Yeah.
And then on the Canes side, to me, as much as I'm worried about where the offense is going to come from, I think that will ultimately work itself out. Sebastian Aho is not going to be a half a point a game guy in the playoffs. I just don't believe that he's going to. If Shea and Burns and Gostisbehere, any of those guys can score, and Kotkaniemi, if Seth Jarvis, if any of those, if we just need one of those forwards to get going, and I'd feel a lot better. So my question is, can you keep the scores low enough that 3 goals win you? And Ronta can do that.
Yep.
The Wolves are still technically in the playoff hunt. They actually can still make the playoffs. I don't know how that affects the Canes. Mostly for Kochetkov.
Yeah.
Right? Because the Wolves are going to want him there. Too bad he's Carolina's, property for lack of a better term. If they want to pull him up, they pull him up.
Yeah.
I don't think Rod's going to do that. I think unless Ronta or Freddie were to get hurt, I don't think we'll see Kochetkov unless the rails are coming off.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think we see Kochetkov, at least in the first round, unless things are not going well. So I don't want to see Piotr right now in Raleigh, because I think that is doom and gloom. However, you have guys who could get a look. Generally you're not going to see guys like Rees or Suzuki or Lajoie or any of those guys up right now. But if the offense can't find the scoring and you're going to change something up, and maybe it's us, right? Maybe it's me as a fan putting more stock into the transition from AHL to NHL than I should. And it's true.
Yeah.
For a lot of guys, it's hard.
It is.
And Nazen's the perfect example. He spent 10 plus years, playing, as a professional. And this is his breakout year. Like, he's almost doubled his points from any other year.
Yeah.
Except for last year in Chicago, where he just went off with like 86 points or something ridiculous, right?
Right.
So the leap from the AHL to the NHL doesn't guarantee success. We've seen that repeatedly. But if our offense is anemic, I would bring somebody up, even if it's just to, backhandedly let the guys in the locker room know I'm
It's
bringing
not
up an AHL guy because you're not getting it done as an NHLer. You should take it personally. I don't know that Rod's that guy. I am that guy. I would do that. I don't know that Rod would. So
yeah,
I agree with you. I think the Canes take this in 6. I think every game is going to be close, and it's going to be a battle of inches in the end, right? There's going to be a couple of posts that go in. That's going to win you a game. There's going to be a post that goes out that loses you a game. It's just, I think it's going to be that type of series. And I don't hate the Isles or their fans. So I'm actually looking forward to this, versus something like the Rangers, in our barn where half the city of Cary shows up as season ticket holders wearing Ranger gear. Like, it's bad in the regular season. Like, I can't have that in the playoffs, right?
No.
And I'm not even in the barn. I just feel bad for the people who are.
Yeah.
Having to deal with people who cheer for the Hurricanes 1 minute and then the next day not only put on the opposing team's gear, which is fine, that I'm okay with, but then are just like belligerent and insulting about the fans and the team. Like, you're one of those fans most of the time, so I don't get it. But yeah, Canes in 6. It's going to be goaltending as much as anything, and the Hurricanes have to find scoring from somebody in the top 12.
So I know we are running a tiny bit long again.
Yeah, that's it. And my battery's going to die. So
I'll try to make this quick. There's a couple of things. Number one, the question isn't who's going to be in net. The question really should be is how short is the leash? How short is the
Good point.
leash for Ronta? How short is the leash for, Mr. Anderson if they have to go to him? There is not, you know what I mean? When you were talking about the possibility of Kochetkov in all of this, there is not a long drawn out time where we have the opportunity to give everyone a chance before we play that final card.
Right.
So there's issues there. So that's one question for me.
Ronta's is longer than Anderson's, in my
Yep.
opinion. But what that looks like in reality, I don't know how short. It's I don't see
Yeah.
anybody getting pulled like mid game or anything at this point, unless things are just bad. But
Yeah.
and by the same token, if Ronta comes, let's say Ronta's the starting for game one and they lose, and he puts in Anderson, I don't think that's a short leash situation so much as that's just Rod's gonna do what Rod's gonna. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Rod's not. If we lose one, then he just swaps them because that's just what he does. I think so.
Now, and I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to ask you, who is the forward to watch for? Who is the defenseman to watch for?
KK all day.
Yep.
Jesperi Kotkaniemi is starting to feel good, and it's like a kid, right? So you've had your daughter's grown. My son is growing. Having them feel safe and comfortable is the first step to confidence.
Yep.
KK, I think, feels safe and comfortable in Carolina. He knows, like, yeah, I might be put on the fourth line, but that's not a demotion in Carolina, right? I'm not going to be benched. I'm certainly not going to be sent to Laval, aka Chicago, because they don't know what to do with me because I'm not scoring at a 100-point pace my first year as a kid who should have been left in Finland.
Yeah,
that's big. I think KK's feeling that. He's starting to throw the body around. That was big in the Detroit game, especially. And he's 6'2", 200 plus. Like, he has a body to throw around. I think KK is going to be an important part of any playoff success this year from the
your
forward.
defender.
It's so obvious, but I can't not say Brent Burns, because Brent Burns, in hockey terms or in Major League Sports terms, is a dinosaur. He is practically a great grandfather at 37, 38 years old. And he just put up one of his best seasons ever. The third best season, I think, ever for a Hurricanes or Whalers defenseman.
Yep.
And every game he looks better. Tell me he doesn't look better now than he looked in March. And he didn't look better in March, he looked in February. As he's learning the system and learning to trust his teammates. We're back to trust again, right?
Oh, that's a brilliant point.
Brent Burns is more comfortable with the guys who are out there with him. Gostisbehere has a little more time on the ice now with Chatfield, who they already look good together, right?
Yep.
Chatfield can play up with Slavin. We've seen that one too. Brent Burns, as he's gotten into the, like, I expect Burns to have a phenomenal year next year. This year was great.
Yep.
Him with a full year in this system and be able to trust his coaches and trust his teammates and have the off season and a full workout, all those things. Even as old as he is, I'm expecting great things.
Yeah.
In these playoffs, Brent Burns is going to be the team leader in assists.
Mm-hmm.
I think Burns is going to help carry you through at least the first series. And the second series is going to be a battle. A lot of it depends on who we're going to play. Like, we're not even going to talk about that one yet. But Brent Burns is going to be the gas that makes everything go. And I think you're going to see Burns is going to end up as the Hurricanes' main, he's going to be the assist leader for the team when these playoffs are done. So
I'm going to pick my two guys. And this is out of an expectation of excellence. I am expecting Seabass, Fishy, to lead the way. And everyone has spoken at great length about his leadership, his desire to win. I know he has the desire to win. I know that he puts pressure on himself to be the very best that he can be every day. Those expectations have to result There have to be positive results from
Mhm.
those expectations. He needs to be the guy that I pin him to be, which is Francis 2.0.
We
He's got to
say
be
that
that
we
guy.
have a superstar, and his name is Sebastian Aho.
Now's the time.
Show it.
Now's the
Show the
time.
world.
100% on defense. And I'm leaving that there on defense. Shea, to me,
It's a great pick.
Shea has got, he's got the ability to find those goals. We were pointing it out last week, with Kaylee and Alex. Shea is shooting the puck, and for it's not always really heavy, not big slap shots, but they're seeing eye puck, finding its way through all of the traffic. And make no mistake, it's playoff hockey. Lots of traffic. The block shots are going to be so important for every team.
Garbage goal is a goal.
At 100%. So we got to get guys to the net and have guys like Shea who can find a way to get the puck through. And Shea only by a margin, because only by the slightest of margins over Burns, because Burns is doing the same thing. And I agree with you 100%. I mean, you're always on point. You've made two great selections, but my guys, I'm shining a light on Aho. It's time. I don't want to be insulting and say put up or shut up, but that really is it's time. It's time now.
Show everybody you're the superstar we think you are.
Exactly. And Shea there too. And
phenomenal.
It's gonna be a great series. Congratulations to our Hurricanes. Fantastic
Excellent season, guys.
We were so happy. And
ups and downs. We complained some, you guys as members of the team, I'm sure did too, but overall, I mean, phenomenal year, fun hockey to watch.
It is. And even more fun. Everyone, I'm thinking of Nancia now.
Yeah.
Who is going to experience her first playoffs. I've been trying to warn her, be ready, because what you experienced in the regular season, what you experienced at the Stadium Series,
pale in comparison.
It absolutely will pale in comparison to what you're about to experience.
Back on after the playoffs.
Yes,
give us the full.
Her take of her first season. That's a great idea. Well, we're going to make that happen.
The playoffs are hopefully. I think maybe you and some other folks suggested, hey, go to game one if you have a chance for either game. Choose game one. There is something about playoff hockey in general, but at PNC, you're going to feel the energy before you ever even get in the building.
Yeah, outside.
The tailgating is different in the playoffs. It just is. It's just a feeling. It's electric, and it's just one of those things. I'm looking forward to more of her videos and to see how she reacts, because if they can go in there and she's in attendance and they can lock up game one, that the roof of that place, it is, Nancy, if you're listening, even if you haven't so far, take earplugs. You may choose not to use them, but I promise you that whole loudest house in the NHL thing is not a marketing gimmick. It gets incredibly loud in there when that team is going in the playoffs.
True.
Way more than the regular season. The regular season gets loud, but not the kind of loud that we experienced in the past in the playoffs.
Not like this.
Even if you don't normally use them. Maybe you won't use them at all, but you might be like, it might be 45 seconds to go, in the Hurricane score an empty netter, and you're like, oh yeah, this is what Brad meant. I'm gonna put
exactly. What I was gonna say is don't wear the earplugs right away. Get the full experience of what we're saying. You'll understand that we are not hype men. We are just giving you the straight truth. This is what you're in for. Once you've experienced it, if you want to save your hearing, that's the time to get them in.
She's a nurse.
And then raise, and then raise the roof some more. I mean, that's the thing. Everyone puts their earplugs in and they still want to feel it the same way that they do, so they just get louder and they turn it up to 12 instead of 11. It's going to be so exciting.
The best atmosphere in hockey.
It is. Looking forward to this. NHL playoffs are here, not fast enough. The fact that we went the whole weekend and with no hockey and we're sitting on pins and needles, Brad, you know I'm going to be texting you like mad over the next
You know,
little bit.
so having a kiddo in the house, I normally defer to him on what to watch, and I watch almost every game from an iPad. So sometimes I don't always see things. I got to go back and watch the game later, or I don't
Yeah.
see, because it's hard to see numbers. It's an iPad. I mean, it's not even a small
Sure.
TV, right? Playoff hockey, not so.
Yeah.
My foot is down. Playoff hockey will be on the television. If he
Out
wants
of
to
the
watch
way.
stuff, the iPad will be his, but the playoffs will be on the big TV where I can actually see things and read numbers and see what's going on a lot better than I can on an 8-inch screen or 10-inch screen or whatever the darn thing is. I am
That's
hyped.
awesome.
He's actually hyped for it too. The whole family is too. My wife was a Bruins fan when I met her. That didn't last long, fortunately. So
You won her over.
yeah.
That's
So
what I like to hear.
the Canes won her over. It wasn't even me. It was the Hurricanes. We took her to some games, and she realized this was something special.
So Brad, so thank you to the listeners who've given us a shot. Let us talk to them about what we love most in the NHL. If you want to find us, where can they find us, Brad?
So Linktree is the easiest way, linktr.ee/StormCellar97. That has everything there. But on Twitter, StormCellar97, Gmail, StormCellar97, on Facebook, facebook.com/StormCellar97. I tried to just keep them all the same. Obviously it's Storm Cellar in the year of our birth with the 97. So, or you can
Lovely.
think of it as Stormy's number. If you're a big Stormy fan, just think that we're also big Stormy fans.
There you go. For me personally, if you want my takes or whatever, I'm usually not too far away from Storm Cellar. I'm always commenting. But if you want to connect up with me personally on Twitter, it's Judge Wapner 10. You know what? I've got lots of takes. Sometimes you'll hear about the Jays and sometimes you hear about whatever, but my focus has been predominantly the Carolina Hurricanes, and rightly so. I'm hoping to get a couple of articles for people to read as the playoffs roll along. So don't be afraid to go over there. In fact, Nancy, getting back to her, she didn't know what the team that shall not be named, who didn't know who that was and why, from listening to last week. And I had the opportunity to direct her to the how and why that reference became infamous from me. And so that indeed, so we'll let you can go find, we've got thoughts on things. We have so much fun. If you want to subscribe to us, go ahead, subscribe on whatever format that you listen on. Give us a nice high rating
and a review. That'd be awesome.
It would be great. And further to that, if you want to join us, drop us a line anytime. If you have questions for us
on the show,
if you have questions, we want to do I would love to do a question show too. That's going to do it for this, Brad. I'm so excited. Bring on the playoffs, and really,
let's do this.
I know there is one thing left to say, and that is go Canes.
Go Canes.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Ray and I greatly appreciate your support in helping us produce an informative and fun podcast. As always, we'd like to say that we believe hockey is for everyone. Whether you're a Caniac or a bunch of jerks, doesn't matter, as we're just a couple of jerks anyway. We would love to hear your questions, comments, and suggestions. We will do our best to answer anything hockey related. You can reach us via email at stormcellar97@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are at stormcellar97, and on Facebook at facebook.com/stormcellar97.